So initially out of the box here, you can see she has these two big chunky braids on each side, and it's actually tied with some rubber bands underneath the rest of her hair, which is kind of straight and just kind of falls back all the way down to her calves. She does have a little bit of hair that's kind of twisted and rubber banded in the center here. Then of course she also does have these rounded bangs. I'll be honest, when I first saw the stock photos of this doll, that was my least favorite part of the hairstyle, is these bangs. So we'll definitely be doing something a little bit different there. What's great about this doll is that unlike some other companies, she doesn't have basically any products in her hair besides these little bangs to keep the shape. So what I'll actually be doing is using Dawn dish soap to wash her hair. You don't need to use shampoo or anything like that on Saran. So without further ado, let's go ahead and undo this style, then get to the washing. I like to save the rubber bands just in case I want to use them again in the future. By the way, as always, a list of the products that I'm using in this video will be linked in the description down below. I'm gonna start by turning the faucet onto the hot side. When it comes to Saran hair, you don't need to wash it in cold water or anything because, of course, we're not trying to retain any curls or anything. So I just start by rinsing the hair in some hot water. Again, she didn't have any product in her hair, but it's always a good practice for me is to wash the doll's hair, especially that bang portion, because again, that part did have a little bit of gel in it. So I'll be using my Dawn dish soap as stated earlier. Then of course I'll just make sure to rinse out all of that dish soap before moving on to conditioning the hair. So I also don't use the exact same conditioner that I use on my nylon doll hairs. I know Saran hair is very rare nowadays that we get, but when I'm dealing with Saran hair, I actually use a more lightweight conditioner because the normal Garnier Fructis that I use is a little bit too heavy for Saran and it will make the hair greasy, which we absolutely do not want. So a best practice that I'll always recommend is you should always boil wash Saran before doing any of the styling, especially for dolls like Vampire Heart Draculaura, because she did have a previous style that we took out. Of course, her hair has a little bit of texture from those braids, and usually sometimes boil washing can get all of those crimps and those like curly pieces out. For some reason though, in this doll, they were really prevalent even after the boil wash. But again, I always recommend doing it as kind of a preliminary step to get out any of that previous style. So of course, as you saw, I just poured that boiling water into a large bowl. Then I just dipped Draculaura in a couple of times and kind of comb out the hair in between the dips. And this will help to just get out any frizz or any of those waves that were created by the braids. And for the maximum amount of smoothing, I just pour the boiling water over the head. This is just going to help the hair lay flat, and then again, try to get the hair as smooth as possible before moving on to the styling.